All right. And we know that we do office hours here to make sure that we're sharing information and doing what's best for students and getting great ideas from people around the region. We also know that using assistive and instructional strategies is one of the high leverage practices from the Council for Exceptional Children, making the most impact on student learning. When we're looking at any assistive technology, we want to make sure that we're using the SET framework. It stands for Student Environments, Tasks, and Tools. We look at the students' skills, their needs, their preferences, what environments are they doing these particular things in, what are the tasks that they and their families, the team wants them to be able to do more independently or more fully, and then what are the tools that would help support them. It's a great tool for equity because it helps to support every student getting exactly what it is that they need. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Leigh Ann Viche and let her introduce herself. And she's got some friends with her today too who are going to talk about some great ways to support movement and rec leisure activities. So take it away, Leigh Ann.
Hey guys, thanks. So when Julie asked me to do this, of course I said no about 16 times before I said yes. So bear with me. So everything I've got in my slideshow is something I've learned from somebody else, and you're probably on screen, or I've borrowed from somebody else and tweaked it. So really nothing is new in my ideas. It's just like we all do, just recycle them and make them work for kids. So I tried to pull out a few of my favorite things to share with you, just to, if nothing else, to remind you of things that are available and things that are resources that we can all use. And of course, our best resources are our friends who teach with us. So go ahead, Julie, let's roll it here. Again, I work with everybody that will walk into my gym, my speech, my OT, my PTs, my social workers, my vision and hearing specialists, anybody who I can drag into my gym. Oh, I had my principal in there the other day playing with us. So anybody that'll come into the gym, I use whatever skills they have, and the kids love it too. I mean, it just adds a different dimension. So I encourage you to use all of the people in your buildings and tap your resources. All they can do is tell you no. And then I put a couple of slides in, and I would imagine all of us here know pretty much the importance of getting kids moving. I know some of my general ed teachers, I have to remind them that walking to the bathroom is not really a brain break. They need to move a little bit more than going to the bathroom and back for their brain break. So just again, the importance of getting kids moving, and that kind of speaks for itself. Move on. Click. And here's a couple of my favorites that I just really can quickly throw at kids. The color spot game, throwing poly spots on the floor and challenging them to touch different colors and different patterns. And depending on the level of the kids, you can amp it up for like a memory game, but just, touch red, touch blue, just something to get their bodies moving right away when they walk into my gym. And then I made little stop and go signs from, I think those were Walmart paint sticks and the little dollar spot signs, but so anything that we can grab and use, it's fun to have the visuals with us like that. So, and then I think the next slide talks about the crossing midline stuff. And most of us that have come through the special ed world know how important it is for kids to be able to cross midline. One little thing I like to tell teachers or tell people, when I accidentally discovered a child when I was teaching many years ago at Nettleton. In the regular ed, I was working with my kids, and this little boy came to join us, and he couldn't do my crossing midline activity. I mentioned it to the teacher, who mentioned it to the family, who had him tested, and there was an issue with his corporal callosum. Did I say that right? I always mispronounce that word. And so they were able to get some medical help. So you never know what is going to go on with a kid, and all we can do is keep offering opportunities. So I think on the next slide, it shows a couple of the quick and easy things, the monkey wisdom, the marching down the hall with crossing midline, marching and having them clap on their opposite knee. And that's probably the easiest way to quickly check if a child can cross midline. And then I've had the opportunity to be trained in the Smart Gym activities, and that's kind of an older program. But I think Congdon still somewhat uses it, and a few of the other buildings have so-called smart rooms. but I have all of that, all the materials there. If anybody is interested in learning more about that or wanting some of those quick and easy things that you can throw into your classrooms or have available for even for general ed classes to run through to work on some of those brain building motor activities. So, and then we start looking at some fun stuff. I think that's the important, you got to tell them that stuff. So I was able to see Jess Wilson present. She is the nationally certified DAPE teacher, and she was the teacher of the year, and she was just amazing. And she came into our DAPE conference and provided us a session on visual supports. And so I borrowed some of her slides here because they are amazing. And she has had a 3-ring binder filled with these things, all laminated and color printed and Velcro on the back. So she's able to just throw them in and out of her things for kids to be able to access. And it's my goal to eventually maybe get that done. But it was really fun to see how well that she had it set up so that she could just quickly use it. Because we all know that providing those visuals for kids are really, really essential. So if I think the next slide shows us a few of her. So these are some of the boards that she shared with us, and she was the most generous woman. She said, well, yeah, anything you want, just ask me, I'll send it to you. And so she gave me copies of everything. So if anybody wants anything that I have, of course, I will share that with you too. But up in the first corner is some first then boards. And it was fun to see the variety of ways she had them presented and shown. As we know, every student responds differently to different things. So you never know if it's the color or the size or the shape or what they would respond to. The next one are the break requests. And so that's the one where she had different tokens and the kids had to earn so many tokens to receive their break. And I think one of the things that I've learned over the years is the importance of presetting those breaks so the kids know where they are and when they're happening. Sometimes if it's a random, yes, you can have a break later, it just sets kids off and for failure because they don't know what later means or when it's going to happen. But if they can see that if they do this activity 3 times, that they can get their break or their chosen activity, it really helps. The next one is just a lap counter to help kids keep track of what laps they are, so that she had the Velcro tags, and every time they came around, they were giving a token and they could put it on their board to know when they're finished. The one on the lower, the PowerPoint lesson, she had that up on her screen and stuff. That's more technology heavy. So lots of people don't have access to that. So that's not one that I would probably use. And the other 2 are, so we have countdown, count up. That's kind of similar to the lap counters, just to keep track of where a child is in a succession of activities. So, I mean, you never know what's going to work for you. And then the old file folders, which is more sedentary or desk work. And maybe a classroom teacher might be interested in those. And that kind of work. I think we're probably all familiar with those too, where they have a task to do in a little file folder. And once they complete their task, they can put that one away and grab another one. And then the next questions.
A couple of things. One thing I really took from her was, you notice the red outline on there visually. That was a change for mine. Bordering the outside really focuses on what's on the inside. And the other one in the bottom middle was, what you need to complete during your day, and then how to do the individual activity always went horizontally. And then she had some of those that were also outlined in red for the focus, as some of the visual impairments are not always, you don't notice them or always remember them off the bat, but getting in a habit of framing them in red was a concept I took from her.
Do you want to talk more about that, Rhonda? I forgot about her talking about that, where the horizontal versus the vertical schedules and all that.
Yeah, the vertical, just she would, or generally is what's going to occur during this class period, and the tasks that you can, as you're stepping through the lesson. And horizontally, that was if there's steps in the activity, first you do this, then you do that, that goes horizontally. So kids when they're looking at their visuals are understanding if it's horizontal, that's that same activity broken down into many pieces, and the vertical is your day or the sequence of activities that you're going to do.
Yeah, I haven't gotten that detailed yet, but that was, she had some activities that were really highly, kids that had multiple ones of these schedules and stuff. And so it was fun to see how she could put those into use. Okay, let's look at the next slide. And then this was interesting because I guess I never even thought of our floors in our environment, but how important that is and how distracting and maybe upsetting to some of our children when they come into a gym and it's like there's just so much to see or in our classrooms. And she was just showing us a few ways to simplify or to structure things so that kids could be successful. The first picture up there is showing their warm-up spots and just how clearly she would mark spaces for kids to know so they know where they're supposed to be for different activities. The next one with the soccer and the hockey, I think she was showing us so if you look, maybe this slide is too small, but if you can see where the net is behind where the girl is playing goalie for the soccer game, she has a spot on the floor for that person to stand. I think she had spots on the floor for each of the different positions for the activities. So that the kids knew exactly where they were supposed to be in their space, because I know a lot of our kids don't know how to judge that space and don't know how to take care of their own personal boundaries. So she actually had them mapped out on the floor for them.
And we auditorially will say, things like funnel to the net or putting them, visually on the floor takes out that ambiguity. Should I have more lunch? Towards what that means, or staying in your lane. We can have that concept of lane, but having the running lines helps them know exactly what we're saying. Well, a lot of times sports related vocabulary is it can translate differently. And when you're transitioning from offense to defense, there's that wonderment of where do I go? And so it eliminates that.
I think that's what she's trying to demonstrate in that football slide here. She's showing that she has a lane, put all these different colors down her gym so that the kids know exactly where their space is. And some of our kids, they try to play in the general ed classes, and it's hard because a lot of the general ed kids know exactly what they're doing. But if we can give our kids some kind of a visual of where they can be, it's like you're going to run right down the yellow lane and stay right on the yellow lane. So that's your space, and they can have more success that way. And I think the next slide's talking about dance because it's down in the corner here, sorry. It's just a mat that goes on the floor underneath the students so that they can know right and left, and sometimes it's easier to tell them color to move side to side. Baseball, there she's showing the actual batter's box, where are you going to stand again, giving them a visual mat on the floor to stand on so that they can know their space. And then I think she's talking again at the last one about she actually put little borders around for their bowling area so that the kids knew exactly where they're going to be. And she just talked about a lot of the time ways to really set up the visuals ahead of time to increase success for students, where sometimes I think, well, it's obvious there's lines on the floor, but some of our kids don't cue to those lines on the floor. Go ahead to our next slide, Jules. Thanks. Modeling and demonstrating. I'm trying to think what she was talking about here. Okay, so bowling skills, she had printed visuals, and she had the little individual tasks broken down for that. And so then so it would have a first then card or Velcro card with all the visuals lined up so the kids would have all the different steps. And then she talked about like the GIFs, and I learned how to make GIFs. And if that's something that you guys are interested in, that is so cool and so easy. And it's kind of a deal changer if you have kids that'll cue to a screen, because they can just sit and watch over and over again a skill in order to learn. Fitness.
And those GIFs are good for continuing in their classroom. If you want, we have Dave once a week, but those GIFs allow them to recall the information and to model after a visual that's done correctly. It's very easy to do crossing the midline on a gift and then do it all week in their classrooms.
Yeah. Fitness drumming is an activity I love to do with the kids. I don't know what, I think she was talking a lot about having the kids, because you can do a lot of midline crossing and a lot of movements that are very deliberate in when you're doing cardio drumming. And I don't think any of us do fitnessgram anymore. Are they doing any fitnessgram? I'm not in the high school right now. We're not doing it in the elementary at all down here in Duluth. I don't know if
they're still at the middle school doing the mile run, and I do modified, adapted fitnessgram stuff just to see where my kids are at, but nothing. It's just for my own use.
Yeah. And then I think she was we were talking a lot about blending, you know, sometimes we try to think that things have to be so exciting and wonderful, but sometimes just a little picture or a piece of colored paper will be enough to cue the kids and to show the kids to play different games and different activities and to try to tap all your resources. And I don't, did anybody else have another thing on this one that they remember from that? Let's just move on then. Oh, the alternate spinner. I think that's an old school item. Julia, how old is that thing? 100 years old. So I use this a lot, and I was going to take a picture of some of the ways I've used it. I've put students' pictures on it. I've put locomotor skills on it. I've put this one has the dice, and so then I'll put colors on it. Different things in almost any game that I play. I have students that can use a switch and be able to then be in charge of different parts of the game. And so it allows the kids, everybody to have access. And honestly, if I pull that out, even my kids who don't need to use that, I'll want to use the turner. They don't want to shake the dice, or they don't want to, you know, do it the traditional ways. So it's just kind of a fun way to get everybody involved and kind of even the playing field. I would think there's a lot of those spinners sitting around. I have one in my closet, and I know there's some floating around here at Lester Park. So I know that lots of kids have them too. So
I would love to be able to check one out and use it at Myers and Ordine.
Yeah, you can borrow mine too, Sharon.
Okay.
And Krista just noted too that we've got one in the Region 3 Lending Library, which should be opening back up quite soon.
Awesome. Let's look at the next slide. Okay, I have to brag a little bit. Lester Park has a loo, and if you have not seen the loo, it is just like the best thing ever. So that Lester Park earned that and did a big, huge fundraiser, and they put all their money into it one year. And there was a lot of hesitation, but now that we're starting to use it and getting to use it more often, we're just finding all kinds of ways to use it for kids, for a variety of kids. You want to show that video if it'll work, Jewel? So I don't know if you can see that very well, but it's an interactive screen that's like the whole size of our wall in our gym. And this, what the kids are doing right now, it happens to be just a little video where they're trying to move and dodge the objects. And you know, one of those, I think we all did them during COVID activities. But so interestingly enough, some of my students who will do nothing in my gym, I can put them, well, we know how kids love screens, put them in front of a screen and they're moving and doing activities. One of the other favorite thing is you can put targets up on the screen and you can change the size of the target. You can have them stationary, you can have them moving, and you can, kids can, any kind of a throwing or if you're kicking or whatever, gives them a target. And then they can explode. I mean, the cool thing is it's interactive. So think smartboard, but think on a size of a gym wall. So I heard if the Duluth referendum can pass, maybe they're coming in more schools. So if we can get some technology money, we might all get them. But I would at least have you investigate if that's something that you guys are interested in doing, because they are pretty cool. We had one more thing about the loo is that we had, there's a puzzle app or a thing on there. And so I imported all the kids' pictures in there, and then it would scramble them up and they'd have to put together their by throwing a ball at the puzzle piece and turning them, they could make their face, and the kids thought that was pretty exciting. The leaf blower is one of my favorite things. I learned this from one of my cohorts down in the cities. And when I went and asked my principal for a leaf blower, she thought I was nuts, but she bought it for me. And one of my students really, really enjoys it. And there's a whole bunch of kids that love to play with it. But my one student who that's his main access to being able to throw or propel an object, it lets him be part. And boy, does he smile when he gets to be part with his peers and gets to participate. Can we see if that video should work? So he's got a switch over here that is wireless, and the leaf blower is hooked up into the environmental control. I think the next slide actually shows the pieces. And then you can put all kinds of stuff in there, any lightweight objects. Currently, I think I had, there's the pieces I was using. And so he could hit the switch and start the leaf blower and throw an object, and his peers can catch it. And he had peers playing with him and begging to play with him, and the interaction was wonderful. And it's just kind of something fun and different. It's noisy. Some of the kids like that, some of the kids don't, but so
I did that on Monday at Ordine. I bought a leaf blower and I was trying it, Leigh Ann, and I couldn't find my scarves, so I was trying to use a light ball, but it worked and it was really fun.
Kids love it. I mean, it's kind of crazy, but so go ask your principal for a leaf blower and see what she says.
I use the restorative, the snail fans, and when I pop it upside down, it will take like a beach ball, and as a target, it can too, and then you put it 3/4 and they love to shoot. They shoot, run and get it themselves, or other people shoot it to them. They have a basket and they're catching the clothes on a windy day. Best of it.
Did you just borrow that from your engineer?
At first I did, yes.
Yeah, so go check out your engineer's area. They got lots of good stuff in there that you can sometimes borrow and make good use of.
I have one.
Yeah, so that's one of our fun things. Let's see what else we got rolling. The old-fashioned bowling ramp, which we've all used for years and years, and I love the fact that we found one that can be switch operated and hit. So one of my the same student that uses my leaf blower a lot is able to be independent with his bowling because he's able to hit the switch again. And I don't know if I thought I took a picture close up that showed the actual little lever. Then a little lever goes down and then the ball will roll, and so he can be successful. This happens to be in my gym, so he can roll any ball or play catch with any ball that the kids are playing with. But then we do take it to the bowling alley also and use it down there. This company is a little challenging to work with. It took me a long time and many phone calls to finally get them. I think it's a mom and pop operation, and maybe they go south for the winter. I don't know. But it was a challenge to get connected with them. But once I did, and I was able to write a grant from, this one was through the Miller Dewan Foundation, to have them purchase that. So they purchased the switch and the ramp and the case and all the pieces for that for us. And it's been a lot of fun to have another piece of equipment. I try to write a grant for, and anytime I see one that's available, I figure, you know what, all they can do is tell me no. And so I've been pretty lucky to get quite a bit of equipment from different grants. So let's see what else we got. Okay, so this is maybe a little hard to see, but these are a lot of the apps and different things that I, again, from one of the conferences we went to, found helpful. And I'm not going to sit and talk about them all because we're almost out of time, but you can check them out. And if there's any that you have questions on or would like more information on, I'm happy to chat with you about them. But a lot of them are self-explanatory too, as far as what they do and what's going on. And the good old RC car. I borrowed this from Linda Puglisi. I think we've all borrowed it. And this is a remote control car with a pool noodle strapped to the top for the kids to play tag with the students. And they go crazy and they love it. So right now my student teacher is chasing one of my students around the gym, and it gets kids moving. they love it. And I mean, it's silly, but it's just another one of those things. And because this isn't my car, I wasn't letting my students drive it, but I had one previously and I would let the kids practice and drive it too. You want to back up and show, do you want to see that again, Hannah? So it's just a remote control car with a pool noodle, actually two pool noodles on the top, duct tape to it. So it's simple but fun. And then couple more things I threw up there. Oh, this little gal is not able to play a lot of our tag games. She's a little kindergartner. So we took a pool noodle and put Lester Park happened to be the pups. So we put a paw print on the top so she's able to participate in the tag games. The next little guy I put rollerblades on him and he's trying to rollerblade it uses a walker. He's a little guy that typically won't engage in any of my activities, but he was loving the rollerblades. And then the little inserted picture in there is my speech person is fabulous, and she helped me make the picture schedule for it. So those are all the steps for him to come in, get his bag of rollerblades, how to put his equipment on, what to put on first, second, third, and all that piece, and walks him right through all of his steps in order to get ready for rollerblading. So, like, again, I asked her for her help, and she was wonderful. So we got that ready for him. I also have all those pictures on my Lou, so I can have those on my screen showing the kids going in there too. So they see it on the wall. They have their own little personal one, and then the adults cueing them to try to help learn the steps. I think that's it. And so I'm trying to create a Google Doc, and maybe you guys already have something going that has our community resources. Alicia Wargen also has a great doc, and so she should let me share that. But so feel free to add to this doc. I think I gave everybody edit rights to it. And it's just some of the different things that are available in our community and our contact people, just trying to make it easier for us to be able to take kids out in the community. I think that's so important. Oh, with 2 minutes to spare, how long do I have?
Perfect.
Ooh, you did good.
2 minutes is great, but if anyone has any questions, feel free to unmute yourselves or go ahead and pop a question into the chat window. What questions do you have for Leigh Ann and Sharon and Kim? We've got a whole, Rhonda, we've got a whole great group here of DAPE teachers who are willing to share their expertise.
Hi, this is Michelle. I'm a PI teacher, not a DAPE teacher, but I love all the activities you provided. So do you do inclusive, like with the Gen Ed as well? Or is this?
In Duluth, we provide services in a variety of ways. Of course, it's all customized to each child, but we have the beauty of having several of us. So we get to see kids, pull out. We have small groups, and we do get to see them in their general ed classes for the most part. So they get a little bit of everything.
Okay. So are they using visuals in the general ed class as well?
If needed, yes, if needed.
Yeah,
Awesome.
if needed.
Awesome.
I've had most of my general ed teachers are so open to anything. I can put things on the wall or put it in. I would take a little corner and put some of the things that we needed up, and everybody's been very open to all that stuff.
So when you have to put things on the floor for visuals, what do you use? Like tape?
There's floor tape, the actual made for floors. And oftentimes, because I'm in a variety of spots, I try to find things that are movable. So we use a lot of poly dots or a lot of different old yoga mats are good to cut up and make different things for the floors.
Okay.
That was one thing that, those visual pathways. And I was thinking about our kids, with the visual impairments and all those wonderful, like, colored pathways and ways of doing. I'm like, man, I wish. But she said, she has a good relationship and can you use that gym when she wants. And
I believe she was in a school.
It's better communicating with your teacher.
Yeah, it wasn't her school exclusively. I think it was like a level 6 building or something where there's only special needs kids in her building.
And one of the things that really came home with me too was like, you know, if we're walking across the balance beam and then we go, here's the cone for the end, and then you go back to the line. Well, a lot of our kids who are neurodivergent, having some of those poly spots down not only helps them, but helps the whole flow of the activity. So it really made sense. But a lot of times just the flow of if we're doing station work really opened my eyes to using those poly spots and feed.
Wonderful ideas. Thank you. And I put for that you guys should present for other things. I think you guys are awesome.
Amazing. After Leigh Ann's resistance to presenting, she's great.
I guess Sharon's doing it, or Kim, one of them.
And then Michelle, you need to present for us, or Hannah. I mean, because your giftedness and know-how of, you know, we need to dive deep into your knowledge too, because it's very helpful.
I agree.
So much overlap, and I love how Leigh Ann talked about all the collaboration at the beginning. Super important. We have one more question in the chat window. Krista said, great ideas. I love the DAPE visuals. How can we contact you to share them? Is it okay if I share your email in the chat window?
Yes. So I received a file, email from them, and Julie, I might have to have your help just to be able to bring it in and to reshare it, unless I can just share it directly from my source. I'm not quite sure how to make that happen, but I'm happy to do that.
Sure. And actually, if it's okay with you, Leigh Ann, if you want to share that with me, and then I can share it out when I share the recording of this video,
Okay.
and then everyone can get it.
Sounds good.
Great. All right. Any other questions? I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording.
That was awesome.